Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday. We are here with RickyWilliams.
Ricky! Here's Williams sweeping left. He's got room. Williams inside the 20, inside the 10, to the 5. He dives. The designated diver is in.
And a very enthusiastic Beth Wishman, who is here to interrogate Ricky about Ricky's biography. And we've had Ricky on the show for, I don't know, maybe almost a year or something, and we haven't even really done any biography on Ricky. Like, who are you anyway? So I'm just going to take a back seat. I'm the referee today, and I'm going to chill. Beth, here, have at him.
Hey, Ricky, how are you?
I'm great.
Good, good. I met Ricky at Astrobash about a year and a half ago. I was really interested in what he's done with the cannabis business. And I sadly didn't even know he played football, but I was really interested in the astrology and the cannabis business that he has developed. And I was curious of how you had gotten in the business, like what led you there.
So, I guess it's autobiographical, but actually, I'm starting to work on my autobiography, and it's astrological. And so my my inclination, what's interesting to me is to answer that question astrologically. How do you think?
This is the right show for that.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Because it's a story, it's a narrative, and I think anyone who's saying, especially something they're investing a lot of time and energy into, it's like what motivated you to do it. And typically there's events or stories that push someone in that direction. Because it was never anything that when I was a kid, I didn't think I want to sell drugs for a living. It was kind of the opposite. It was kind of the opposite. And like, if I knew astrology, then I would see that I have Neptune opposing my midheaven.
Got it.
Natally?
And I've got
Natally, yeah. Natally, I have Neptune opposing my midheaven. And so for people, I mean, for me, as I learned the language of astrology, it's like those couple of words, that phrase, Neptune opposing my midheaven, it's like so many ups and downs and anguish in my career summed up in those words. And it's like, I can appreciate the beauty in the process.
I love that. I love that. And I've got Neptune conjunct my midheaven.
Yeah, and exactly. Well, and what are we talking about? A Neptune subject.
Exactly.
Stoners.
Yeah, exactly.
I've taken a little break because I feel like I've been working on my goal is to do pull-ups, which is not easy. And so I'm trying to work on my cardiovascular health at the moment. But I read something maybe about you getting into psilocybin, into helping people with PTSD and things like that.
Yeah. All right. So also in my 10th house natally, I have Cancer Moon, and it's square Pluto in the first.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have Cancer Moon. So there's something about healing or something, what I'm sensitive to. Yeah. So this really does describe my 10th house. And I'd say, oh, man, the way my teacher would say, the angels are toasting champagne because I'm having a conversation about my reputation, about my 10th house, and we're talking about cannabis and healing, right? Whereas if we go back in time 25 years, when I was a professional football player, from the external, right, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, but internally, all right, I wouldn't be able to have a conversation that really honors my 10th house. So thank you. Thank you for these questions. But also, I feel like I'm a teacher. I'm a 9th house Gemini in a Virgo rising, right? So it's like if you're going to listen to me, you're going to have to learn something. Yeah.
Well, you've also got Jupiter in the 9th house too, right?
Yeah, that adds to it. Yeah, makes it harder for me to shut up sometimes.
You shut up today. As your producer, I'm gonna have to teach you something.
Okay, good. Shut up.
I did want to ask about the moon square Mars because a lot of that time, it's like mom and
Mhm.
anger and
Mhm.
aggression.
Mhm.
And then I thought, my God, like playing sports and just did you have a problem with anger? Did you have a problem with aggression? Did you have anger issues? And does it still manifest today in relationships?
Kinda, and again, the way I do it is more about creative storytelling.
Wait,
You
Okay.
know,
you have a moon
Bec-
square Mars? You do by sign, but is it by
yeah,
degree?
it's but it's also it's interesting. But you bring up an interesting point. So I have Mars conjunct Venus. So if you're talking to someone about Mars, you see a Mars whatever activation. Not all Marses are created equally. All right, is that Mars is going to be an aspect to other things. And my Mars makes a trine to Neptune and a conjunction to Venus. So, right, which allows to soften it. And a lot of it allowed it to be directed into envisioning myself running people over and scoring touchdowns. Right.
Yeah.
So I had sports as an outlet. I think and so to me, if I'm talking to someone asking that question, I would lead the question more into what were the outlets,
Got
right?
it.
Because then if the person can realize, oh, the outlet was, fighting with my mom, right? They'll realize it is just an outlet, or it could be an outlet was, I was the jock, right? I loved sports, right? I loved to compete. And if you're a little boy and you'd love to compete, typically there's opportunities for you to get rewarded for that,
Right.
and so there was a channel. And my mom is in Aries. She's got Mars in the first house. So when you're looking at that configuration, because for me, I look at the 10th house as the mother, and it jumps out in this example of those were the experiences I had with my mother. So we anger. I grew up with the Aries, having the powerful Mars. So I mean, it wasn't that I had the anger issues, but I grew up in a house with someone that did have anger issues, and yes, it had some kind of effect on me.
Well, I love that your Venus is sextile your midheaven. I mean
Yeah.
that really I feel like that's really supportive for what you do.
Oh, as
Um,
a football player, it is. As a football player, it was. But like I said, that with Mars, there's different Marses. With Venus, I was thinking about this a lot this week. With Venus, there's different Venuses. Like my Venus is not for uh the soft-hearted, not for the sensitive so much. You know,
well, and you
I,
have
I was
Venus conjunct Mars
that's what
too.
in Aries. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So for me, it's like I think of I'm most pleasant in stressful situations.
Hmm.
Right. And so
Okay.
some people are not, right? And so those people, right, I don't like those people. I mean, that's seriously. So I don't spend time around those people, and that's how I keep my Venus happy.
So when you were playing football, were a lot of the guys on the team pleasant while you guys were tackling each other? Just like, oh, hey, thank you
Well,
for the tackle.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you don't see guys get up and pat each other on the butt after
Oh
they
yeah.
right. It's a beautiful. It's a beautiful martial arts, right? And football is a martial art. It's where you get to express the beauty of combat. And we spend so much time and energy perfecting our craft that way. So it was a great outlet for me.
I got a question. Would you let your kids play football?
Mm, it depends on the kids. I mean, I look at my kids' charts and I realize they don't care what I say.
But I mean, it's brutal. It is a brutal sport.
Yeah, but to me, all right, so it's a brutal sport. Okay, here's my Mars. Here's my Mars question. All right, and I'm going there. I am going there. Here's my Mars question, okay? So based on what we know about astrology, okay, you have a woman and she's got a powerful Mars, okay? But she was attractive, and so when she was young, she was taught to like bury it, But it's powerful. It's inside of her. And she's going through a really strong activation to that Mars. So what that means is she has a powerful Mars. She's going through a strong Mars activation, means she's going to have a very Marsy event show up in her life. And if she's conscious of it, right, she might put on 10 pounds of muscle going to the gym. But if she's not, she might find herself in a situation where she has to fight,
Right.
you know? Right? This is times where they tend to coincide with abuse.
That was,
Abuse. Okay.
yeah.
So from an astrological perspective, if we can say that Mars times can bring putting on 10 pounds of muscle, and Mars times can bring abusive situations, you know, right? Then what's really the origin of the abuse?
Mm. That's a good question.
Yeah,
And are they used to it? And do they allow it to be a victim to it? Because if they've
exactly.
created it.
Well, football's the opposite, right? The whole thing a coach is trying to teach us is to master Mars, right? Is to say you are never ever the victim. You always have the ability to assert yourself. And the idea is that every play you have to dominate the person across from you for us to be successful. And there are zero excuses. Either you do it or you don't. We'll watch the film. And if you don't do it enough times, we will get you out of here. Right?
And you played for what, 11 seasons?
Yeah.
And what was it, your progressed lunar return where you decided you just weren't jiving with it anymore?
Yeah, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Yeah.
Are you just like, I got jumped on one too many times?
Um, I mean, that was in the back of my mind, but it was really I was sitting in my locker room one day, and I was looking around and listening to the guys talk, and it just dawned on me, it's like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? No, here's the truth. Here's the truth. And this is the Neptune opposing the midheaven and the moon and the 10th. Is it became public that I failed a drug test. And I wasn't suspended or any of that, but there was something like about my reputation, like something in me felt like it broke,
Mm.
you know? And I feel like I was like trying to hold up something, 10th house trying to hold up something that wasn't real, right? And so when it had one little crack in it, right, that the whole thing came tumbling down. You know, it's fascinating because before I found astrology, and I found astrology when I walked away and started traveling, all of the things that are important and vital to who I am today, I discovered all of those things within 3 months to a year of when I walked away. And they were all, it's so funny. I was traveling through Australia because when I retired, somehow my ninth house sun conjunct Jupiter woke up and I said, I just want to travel. I just want to see the world. And I got to Australia and I found this beautiful piece of land, it had like a 180-degree view of the water. And I said, I'm going to buy this. And they said, in order to purchase this, you have to become a citizen. So I was like, okay, where do I sign up? Right. And so I got the paperwork and I started going down the list of, because there was a section where they said basically, what are you going to do? What's your skill? I started going down the list. It was like 150 jobs, skills. And I got to the bottom and I realized I don't have a skill. I don't know how to do anything. So it like totally changed my thinking. And I started thinking, well, if I'm not a football player, well, what am I going to do with my life? And I started to do a review of the most meaningful moments of my life. And they were always around helping people. It's like showing people a different way to look at something that helped the situation get better. And so it clicked that some kind of healer. And it just naturally arose in me. And I found myself in Northern California studying Ayurveda. And then that's where I found astrology. And then when I found out about the moon and the 10th house in Cancer, and I found out about the lunar return, like my jaw hit the ground because I was like, I thought I was crazy. Everyone thought I was crazy. But looking at it through the astrological lens, it's like, it makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And are you a yoga teacher as well?
Yeah, I became a yoga teacher during that time. Sure did.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I would say you're a natural healer.
Wait, so how much do you smoke pot?
Me?
Yeah.
Um, what are the like? Is this multiple choice? I don't understand. What are yeah, I have Jupiter opposing Neptune. So but as long as I have a philosophy about it, then it works. No, I'm juggling code and then I'll take smoke breaks.
I have a question for Andrea. Now, tell me, because you said moon square Neptune. Okay, so the relationship with your mother, was she unattainable to you emotionally?
I don't know. I don't know. I attain her whenever I want.
I was ready to have a debate about the moon and as the mother.
Well, go
Oh,
ahead.
please
What's
do.
stopping you? Because you have it in Cancer too, and the 10th house. So there's so
Okay,
many.
so
Okay.
exactly. So I would say if the moon is connected to the 10th house, I think then you can confidently say that the moon is the mother. Because the moon is, I think, to me, it's more the principle of nurturing. And some people get nurturing from other places other than their mother. But typically, if the moon is connected to the 10th house, like in my case, it's more directly related to the 10th house. But that's one of the things that I've found so much, and not about right or wrong, but something that where I found so much insight is looking at the 10th house is giving us information about what we got from our mothers, and the fourth house giving us information about what we got from our fathers. And especially when there's aspects between planets in the fourth and the 10th, because to me, a lot of it is what we got from the relationship between our parents.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've got Neptune and Jupiter conjunct by midheaven in the 10th. And then I've got it's opposing Saturn in the fourth. So
Oh,
I
wow.
feel, yeah.
Yeah, a good
And my
one.
progressed sun is opposing it right now this year. And I'll
Oh,
tell you,
wow.
definitely been feeling that.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I do. And I also wanted to talk about
Oh,
astrology and cannabis retreats. Like, are you
man.
going to have one?
Oh,
Well,
I'd
like, I
love
feel
to. I mean, all my retreats are cannabis retreats.
like, but I feel like we could have a ritual. I just feel like it'd be
It's coming. Yeah,
big.
it's necessary. So this is where I want to take the conversation. Okay, and I've thought about this for a long time, and I feel really good about this. Right, my mind can be changed, but I feel really good about this as a starting point. Okay, so I was reading somewhere that in Mesopotamia, that the name for cannabis was the perfume of Venus.
Ooh.
Perfume of Venus. Yeah. And I think it's easy for anyone who enjoys cannabis, it's easy to make the case that there's some Venus going on.
Yeah. I
Right?
just love the smell of it, man. Like, oh God, it's like the best incense ever.
Yeah. But also the effect. You listen to music, it's easier to appreciate, right? And again, in the right mindset, you look at a person, they're easier to appreciate. Food, so good. Oh. All right. So and also in my system, Venus, Neptune is considered the higher octave, an octave of Venus.
Right.
And so it's easy to make the connection, I think, with cannabis to Neptune. So to me, the synchronicity of models or conceptual models with cannabis, it really makes a lot of sense. Really makes a lot of sense to me. And part of that, I think, is because in my chart, I have Neptune square Venus, and they're both an aspect to the midheaven. So at least this perspective on cannabis is, I think, what I'm here to amplify.
I love that.
I love that
Now,
because okay, oh,
I just have one thing to say about that. What I love about that is Venus is a receiver. I would say Venus is a very feminine planet. Except when we get into the Libra with the air, right? That's more masculine. But the thing about the cannabis plant, there's a male and female. And the male plant trying to get at the female because to get seeds on her, I feel like are like the nuts, the gonads, right? And
Mhm.
so if they get her on the female, they'll choke it out and make it male. But it's the female plant that is the euphoric plant
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
duh.
with the
yeah.
beautiful bud.
Yeah.
Well, Ricky, I want to say something. Which is okay. So, as a technical mathematician, I
Mhm.
would say that the Venus square Neptune makes softness and Venusian stony vibes available from you. Like the drugs are a mere patina over your vibe, actually. Like, right? It's
Yeah,
like
well said.
like,
Well said. Well said.
that's what you pay me the 4.1 million for.
Well said. Like when I do body work on people, I think the effect is, or even sometimes when I do a reading, the effect is like someone feels they feel high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I think it's like not that we need to do the experiment to like take you off weed to see what your Venus square Neptune vibes like without it, but I mean
It's a
I just
trine. It's a
oh it's a
trine, but
try.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
try. But I mean, but I do think, because no two stoners are the same, right? Like two people can smoke pot, and one doesn't have a Venus Neptune trine, and the other one does. And it's like the Venus Neptune person's going to emit this beautiful kind of Venusian, like stony vibe, and the other one's just still going to be really like turgid and like amped up and anxious and like. So I think I just want to celebrate your Venus Neptune trine as it is too, you know?
Yeah. And so, but this is the beauty of understanding a person, understanding a plant from an astrological perspective, is you start to be able to get a sense of how to use it. Because there's certain times where Venus, Neptune, we need some of it, and certain times we're good, right? We don't need so much. But if you're clear about what it is, you can be more skillful in how to utilize it. And I think because in the cannabis industry, I think one of the issues is cannabis has an identity problem, right?
Mm.
Because of its past, some people say it's this, some people say it's that, some people say it's this, some people say it's that. For me, it's becoming crystal clear, right? It's Venus and Neptune, right?
Mhm.
That's the lens that I'm looking at it through, and it things make sense when I view it that way. And then I think of in my chart, where could I use some more Venus and Neptune? And in my system, the place where we could all use some, most of us could use some more Venus and Neptune is wherever Saturn is hanging out.
Mm.
And as a remediation, yes, but also to bring the best out of Saturn, right? It has to soften, it has to appreciate someone else's perspective, it has to connect to a larger vision, right? Then that ability to bring something down to earth, to crystallize something, is at its best because it can crystallize what is beautiful, what is uplifting.
Well, it's so interesting because like Beth loves pot. Like that's on her show. Is like, what'd you say? It's like poop pot and something else.
Yeah. Holy shit, Beth. And we talk about poop pot orgasms, menopause. And that's why I was like, oh, I want to interview him in his cannabis
Well,
business.
and you're super Venusian. You're Taurus moon with like 14 planets in Libra. So he's like, you're like proving Ricky's right now because you're a Venusian. Although poop is not very Venusian, so I'm not really sure what to do with that. But
Well, taking a good poop is fucking beautiful. I'm just
Oh
gonna
yes, that's Taurus. That's Taurus beauty, right? Seriously.
I'm
That's
telling you, I'll take a big crap and I'll be like, God, look at that. I want to
uh,
post somewhere. It's cute.
I'm sorry you don't get to share that.
I actually thought about starting an Instagram to say, can everybody just post their most beautiful shit? Like if you go through my camera roll, I'll be like, oh, look at that, man. That's fucking great.
Wow. Well, no, I do want to address this, Ricky. I think from a remediation perspective, let me be just hyper theoretical for a sec, which is when
Please.
we have Mars problems, we often look for the balancing effect from the opposite sign. So, like Aries is Mars at home there, and Scorpio Mars at home there, and opposite those signs are Venusian signs, Libra and Taurus. So, Venus is often used as a remedy for martial issues because it's the opposite. Planet and sign. So I can see where if a martial artist is trying to chill, they're like, let me smoke some weed. And that you being a Venus trine Neptune human are a walking carrier of that Venus energy, and that you are like you're bringing that remedy along with you as you go. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Also the Mars Aries stuff, right? That it's in combination with being a football player, right? And those things and how they came together where it was easy for me to tell this story because it was easy for me to get natural relief. But even right, the story I tell about when I realized that cannabis was for me, right, is I was it was a senior in college and I was having a bad week. I broke up with my girlfriend and I had a couple of bad games and I was hurt. So I was thinking my prospects weren't so great. I was beating myself up. I was obsessing. And my roommate, he's a smoker until he passed over his bong. And he's like, dude, you just need to chill. So I took 2 hits from the bong and I went upstairs and I laid down on my bed and I started imagining things getting better. Right. I started imagining myself playing better. And the next 2 weeks, I broke records for most yards ever in back-to-back games. And so this idea of tuning into the Neptune, feeling better, because part of the Venus Neptune thing is it's hard to raise our vibration if we feel like shit. And so part of the Venus is you got to feel good. And there's something about being in love or doing what you love that naturally raises your vibration into the Neptune frequency. Not obsessing about my heartbreak, cleared some space to allow me to envision things getting better. And they did beyond my greatest, my imagination. Won the Heisman Trophy and all that good stuff. And at that moment, I realized that whatever this is, it can contribute to me being better at this football stuff.
And you have a wide orb with a Mars square moon. I have exact Mars square moon. And I will tell you, my mother and I did not have the best relationship. And it took her to pass away and have a medium tell me that she came through and apologized for not being the mother that she was meant to be.
Morty, are you all right?
I loved her so much.
I know you did, honey. Mommy's here.
And asked for forgiveness, which I did. But I read recently that Mars square moon can be anger, which can drive to accept challenges and whatnot, but that the Pluto aspect with it can be resentment. And so I didn't know what your take was on that.
Well, that's bullshit to me. Those are bullshit possibilities. And I honor them by saying they're possibilities, but they don't allow for storytelling. And to me, if you're going to truly connect to someone and this is going to be meaningful to them, there has to be a way out. Right. And to me, the way out is seeing the meaning of how the story is part of what you need to grow into what you need to become. So if I'm talking about the moon, I'm talking about nurturing and helping people understand what are the kind of things that are going to nurture you. And if you have Mars square the moon, it's the thing you have to learn, right? One of the things that nurture you, right, are stressful situations, arguments, fights. Right. And if you understand those things nurture you, look for people, right, who you enjoy, right, arguing with. Right. Like, if you like spicy food, find the spicy food that tastes good. So it's worth it. And because to me, especially, right, like the power of our charts, if someone is in a nurturing experience with you, they can't help but act more Marsy.
My Mars in Cancer just makes stuff for you.
Yeah.
I like make stuff to Ricky and send it to him, and he's like, "Oh,
yeah." So, yeah, but also we can see what you said. You had Jupiter, Neptune in the 10th.
Yeah.
Right. No mother ever is going to be able to satisfy that vision, and they shouldn't.
Yeah, maybe
it's not meant, but it's not meant. Jupiter, Neptune, that's not meant for earthly satisfaction.
Right.
It's like I had that chart. I'd be like, I feel bad for my mom. No way she could ever meet these expectations.
Like she was like an evangelical preacher,
She'd have to be an angel.
So, Ricky, you want to know what you do in sobriety to get to that place where you're laying in your bed and you're chilling during the hard times? Okay, you're supposed to say, God, what is your will for this situation? Like you're supposed to, like Neptune, God is always like the Neptune replacement therapy because it's all about higher power. So like if I'm up stim, I need to down stim, I'm always like, God, what is your will for this situation? And then I like write my journal until I'm like down stim. So it's just interesting that is like the pot of sobriety is, God, what is your will for X?
Yeah. That's one way to tap into the Neptune frequency. Yeah, sure is.
All right, so I got a question. Where is Heisman and what's going on with it? How do we get a hold of it? Is there a progression of it? Because I can't find it now in Arizona anymore.
Yeah, we're not in Arizona anymore. We've our gravity has shifted to the East Coast.
Okay.
You know, it's like we found more opportunity. It's like the West Coast are so established, and there's so much stagnation on federal regulation. It's not conducive to our business model. But the East Coast, everything is so new, and so yeah, that's where we're focusing more of our efforts right now. But it's a passion of mine to get back to the West Coast. It just doesn't
Wait,
make a
is
whole lot
Heisman the name of your business?
Heisman's the name of my business. Yeah.
Get it. So Heisman is spelled Highsa, or is it? I thought it was Heis.
That's
It's a
the
play
trophy.
on it.
That's
Oh,
the
I see.
trophy.
So you did a play on words, double entendre. That's brilliant. That's so memey.
But it's also part of the story. The story I just told, right? That hitting the bong, right? I had back-to-back 300-yard rushing games, and it put me back on track to win the Heisman. So I would not have won the Heisman Trophy if I didn't get high that night. Right? And to me, it would be easy to have a difficult time saying that, and it was hard for me to say that publicly. But understanding the Neptune opposing the midheaven, and that what I'm meant to stand for is from the third house, is not going to be easy to say. Yeah. And it's interesting how finding astrology has given me the confidence in the language to have zero doubt about how much aligned this is with the purpose that I'm on this planet for. You know, is
Wait,
to
so
tell my Neptune stories.
wait, so Heisman, can you get it in Portland?
We were in Oregon for a long time. Actually, Oregon was the first market we launched in. A good friend of mine, and yeah, important, the Portland area launched us.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I think they stopped growing, and so we're not in Portland anymore. There might be some places maybe that you could find some. Well, I think what I'm gonna do, I like doing events, so maybe I'll come up to Portland. And yeah, this idea, I think for me, cannabis and astrology go well together because it taps you into the Neptunian realm of possibilities, and I think that's the funnest place to play with the symbols.
They
So
call that
what were
abstract symbolic. Like in learning theory, there's abstract symbolic, then you go down to concrete, like or like it's like pre-operational, operational, and then concrete. And it's like astrology is so challenging because it's in this hyper symbolic realm. And then when we take it down and make it concrete, then we can say like, oh, like it's just interesting. So I do think when we smoke weed, like we feel more comfortable in the hyper symbolic realm, and so people kind of relax and enjoy the astrology. Sorry, Beth.
It's
That's
easier to I think it's easier to appreciate in that realm because if you're even like this is so my thing with planets and signs, I've been harping on this lately, is that to me signs are psychological.
mm-hmm.
That's when we talk about signs, we get into dramas, the dramas, the psychological dramas, But I think when we talk about planets, we have to make it spiritual because now we're talking about the gods. We're not talking about the stories and the dramas that they get in. We're talking to the forces that stir up the things that cause the dramas. But once we go straight to the planets or the direct origins of the energy, again, to me it becomes more spiritual. That's why I say it's difficult for me to say that the moon is the mother, right? Because the moon is about nurturing. And yes, we all are nurtured in our mother's womb, but as we come out, then some of us that nurturing moon effect is more directly related to the actual mother, and sometimes it's related to something completely different.
So I have two questions. What states on the East Coast do you know offhand? So anybody who's watching this can
Yeah. So yeah, Florida is probably my favorite flower we have. I love our partners in Florida. Massachusetts, we're in New Jersey, and we're about to be in New York. We're in Ohio. That's not on the East Coast, but that's in the Midwest.
Yeah.
We're in Ohio for sure. We're strong in Ohio. I'm happy with our Ohio stuff.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
you gotta
Any
get those-
Minnesota is, I feel like Minnesota, maybe. They just went rec, but I feel like they haven't gotten dispensaries or anything going there yet either.
Yeah.
Is that a gummy? Is that what it is? It looks like it's a package of gummies, but is it actually weed?
What? Oh, this these three little joints that have this really cool little. Is it a ceramic?
Oh yeah,
Um,
hit sticks. It's
with
yeah,
sticks.
that's been our innovation. That's been our innovation, and it's doing well, especially in the winter. And as we're in the spring now, but on the East Coast where it's difficult when it's cold outside for a joint, but the hit sticks are easy and they're powerful, so you can get in and get out and get back in the warm the warm house.
Well,
Okay, so another.
I'm glad that I spent all those years with beer, weed, and cigarettes so that I can like doubt you 0%. Like if you were like stoned off your ass on our show, I'd be like, oh. Like because like I was like an all day smoker and it's like you don't really get stoned after a while. You're just like still your same philosophical self walking around. I think of you as a peripatetic, which are like people who walk around thinking. And I'm like, oh, did Ricky walk
Yeah,
around and think and then took a hit off his joint? Like, get over here and think.
yeah, yeah.
Like
That's all I do, nonstop, nonstop.
you probably smell really good.
I always have to consume, right? If I'm just sitting around, it's like I need a book, I need something, I need something, or I'm coding, right? It's like,
Well, you know what that is? The in enlightenment theory, they call that building a sandcastle. In some places, they call it threading the needle. Have we talked about this? Where
mm,
so they say that humans have sunlight come in your eyes, it goes down your spine, and we all know we're astrologers. We know that the sunlight hits our eyes, it goes down our spine, comes out our chakras, and we have chi basically. And it's like it's really hard for a human to sit here and do nothing because there's so much chi coming in, right? So people who are high chi individuals are the most addicted fidgeters. Like you should see me fidget now that I'm not beer. I build bead after bead after bead after bead. Like, but they call it building a sandcastle or threading the needle, which is like you take your chi and you give it to stuff. And all the beads I make, it's like one. I'm like that was one cigarette, that was one
yeah,
cigarette, but now it's like coming out in beads, right? And so the thing is, as a spiritual master, in some ways, you decide what to thread the needle with, right? Like, am I going to pick up a joint and burn it away? Am I going to build a thing? Am I going to code? And so it's like, it's just, for me, that's just you burning chi, like one chi fidget after another. And it's like all just a sweep of chi. Like, it doesn't, you know.
makes sense. Yeah.
I have two questions, Ricky. One is whatever happened when you tested positive? Did you get in trouble for that? Did you get suspended? What were the repercussions?
Yeah, I guess so. The first time you test positive, they put you in the drug program, which means you get tested 9 times a month. And then the
Ooh.
second time, they fine you 4/17. So I got 4/17 of my salary paid in a fine. And then the next time, they suspend you for 4 games. So I got suspended for 4 games. And then the next time, they suspend you for a year, and I got suspended for a year. And then the next time, they suspend you indefinitely, and I got suspended indefinitely. And then that was it.
Yeah, you're like, no. Right. So is it all flour or do you do gummies and resin and all that kind of stuff?
My preference is flour, but
Yeah.
if I like Rick Simpson oil for healing
Mm.
properties, and I'll definitely use like Rick Simpson oil to sleep through the night and then wake up refreshed. So I'm an herbalist, so I think of the functional uses of cannabis, but I'd say I enjoy flower the way that a wine connoisseur enjoys their wine.
I didn't know about the oil. That's interesting. I would love to be able to get some of that.
Mm.
Is it a tincture?
It comes in a tincture. Originally, it would come like in like a paste.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of ways to get it. It's called Rick Simpson oil. There's a lot of ways to get it. Most dispensaries will carry some form of it.
Okay. But you are not branding it, or are you?
No, I had a company. My first company in cannabis, the cannabis space was Real Wellness, and we were all medical or medicinal cannabis, and I was bringing my study of herbalism into cannabis and combining different traditional herbal formulas with different cannabinoids. If we bring that back into the THC market, I think we definitely would have a Rick Simpson oil product.
Incredible. Incredible. All right. Well, this has been really fascinating, and I'm grateful that you both have been cooperative and interactive. It's great, and I hope to have some sort of something going on.
Yeah, we should do a session that only for people only that have Moon Mars squares.
You
I
want
think
to?
there's something powerful about getting groups of people together that share certain like powerful configurations like that, because it makes it easier to appreciate the possibilities and the potentials that are inherent in those aspects.
Do you want me to call the crowd to see if there's more Moon Mars Square people and have a Moon Mars Square show?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay, cool. I will do. Beth, would you come back on for that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like mine is a 16 degree, and I will tell you, it makes sense that my age correlated to when that occurred with my mother. So
Wait,
I
can
do.
I come on, or I have a Moon Square Neptune? Should I be absent that week?
Well, we could do.
I could be the mediator. I could be the moderator.
You definitely can be the moderator, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hey Beth, thank you so much. This is so cool because we've never done a biography show on Ricky. Really, never even talked about his businesses, or we're just so astro focused that this was actually really cool. I hope you didn't mind, Ricky.
No, I didn't mind at all. No, it was great. You know, we have 2 minutes, so I just want to say one thing here to tie it back to what we usually talk about is talked about my Jupiter in the ninth house conjunct my sun in Gemini, and I talked about Neptune opposing my midheaven. My Neptune is in Sagittarius, right? And Sagittarius is on the cusp of my fourth house. And I think if I grew up in a different area and I was white, for example, a white male, it's a very good chance that the manifestation of those symbols would have come through scholarly pursuits. You know, maybe my dad was a professor, judge, something like that. But in my case, religion. And that's a cultural consideration where in different cultures, different times, right? Religion is someone's gonna have more access to expressing through religion and others not so much.
Are you religious?
I grew up extremely religious. Mm-hmm. And even the way I do astrology, it's a religious type of astrology. Like I consider astrology a religion.
Well, you show up religiously on Wednesdays, which I appreciate.
Church. It's church.
All right, you guys. Thank you
Fantastic.
for threading
Thank
your
you so
needle
much.
with me today. And I will see you next Wednesday, Ricky.
All righty.
Take care.
Bye, Beth. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Holy shit, Beth.
Holy shit, Beth.
Holy shit, Beth. Beth.